God's country, shooting and outdoors. Again, like I said in the other video, I took a sick day. I am not feeling good, but I can't sit around and do just nothing. So one of the videos that I've been asked to do was, how can I word this very carefully? Problems with the Savage 93 having too stiff of a trigger. So you're going to have to try to read between the lines possibly in this video a little bit, because there's things I can and cannot show you on video. But I will try to at least explain the problems and help you work through those problems. So this is the Model 93 in the 17 HMR. It's the semi or bull barrel. It's more of a semi bull barrel. When I first got this gun, I love this little gun. It shoots good. I don't mind the weight of it for what I do with it. I really like it, and for the price, you know, I was pretty tickled with it. This is a Walmart special, so I didn't give a whole lot of money for it, but it does everything that I need it to do. The trigger on this thing was borderline 6 pounds when I got it. It was crazy how heavy it was. So the trigger pull on it now, I don't know if you can see it or not, hopefully you can. So the trigger pull on this gun now is about 4 pounds. Just over 3.5. Let's try it one more time. So the trigger pull weight is almost half of what it was. So it broke right there, just under 4. So it's between 3.5 and 4. So we'll call it 3 3/4. So what I would like to do today is show you a couple of things about these triggers. One, these triggers seem to have a little bit of grit in them, and I will try to explain the grit part of it in a little bit further in the video, and I will try to explain to you why your trigger is a little bit heavy. So I'm going to just quickly explain to you how to take the gun apart, just in case you haven't. It's not that hard. There are 2 screws, Allen wrench screws, one in the front here at the front of the magazine well, one right in front of the trigger well, or the trigger. So you'll pull those out, the stock will come off, and then I will show you a little bit deeper in a minute, okay? Alright, so I have the stock removed, and in just a minute I'm going to move the camera around where you can see a little bit more in depth what I'm doing. The tools that you're going to need is an Allen wrench. I didn't pay attention to the size. Looks like it's a 5/32. You're going to need some sort of a multi-tool, especially if it has, you know, kind of like filing type things in it. That's pretty handy for one of the things that you'll need. And the blunt tip on it right here is really good for putting the moon rings back on. A small pick or a very small straight screwdriver is really good for taking the moon rings off. And by some chance, you know, something like that could come in pretty handy as well. So let's move the camera and get a little bit more in depth of what we're working with, okay? Alright, so we have the gun apart. I will tell you, take pictures. I will try to upload some pictures with this, maybe to the side or something, but take pictures. So I want to explain to you a couple things. This spring right here is for the safety, but it works as good as the pins do. These pins actually are longer than what you would think they need to be, but after you realize, after a minute or two, these pins being long is part of what holds this spring in place. So take a picture of that spring, how it goes back in place. Secondly, let's see if you can see them. There's 3 moon clips. You only need to take 2 out. You need to take the bottom one and the top one. That allows your trigger and stuff to come out. I'm going to pause it for a minute because I don't know that I can show you that. But anyways, give me a minute. Alright, so once you've gotten those pins pulled, this is the way your trigger actually looks and should work. So what happens is this catches the bolt on the bolt throw. This trigger actually right here just kind of pins as you pull the trigger, pull it back, it rolls out of that groove right there. So sometimes there is, when you machine metal like this or cut metal like this, there is actually very small metal shavings and such in there, and it's not real smooth. I can't tell you that I would smooth them down. I don't know that I can say that on this video, but I will say that if you were to take something like a multi-tool to just make sure everything goes back in place, something that has something like a little file or something on it, that's entirely up to you. I don't know that you can see the scratch marks on mine. Probably not. But I did find that mine did have some grit in it, and now I could polish it with a little Dremel tool, polishing stuff, and get more of it out. But when I work these two against each other, they actually don't have all that grit between them. So that's really good on this trigger, that it doesn't have that grit. But trigger weight. Trigger weight on these is contingent on 2 parts. One, the trigger surface bearing between these 2 parts, and this very, very tiny spring. So this spring goes into the top of the trigger right there. That's how it goes. I don't know that you can see that very well with this camera, but there is a very small spring right there. Sometimes those springs are too long, and sometimes if they're too long, they might break, or well, sometimes they're just too long, and things happen to them, like they could break like one link off of it. It doesn't matter if you don't lose more than about 1 spiral in that spring. It won't hurt anything. It might actually even make the trigger weight just a little bit lighter. But what you can do if that spring does break is put the broken end into the groove in the bottom. Put that down there and put the good part of the spring to the top. Because they're really stiff springs and it doesn't take a whole lot. I mean, these are really stiff. If it was to break in half, they're not that expensive to buy that spring to replace. But if you was to lose or break like one spiral of the spring, you're still going to be okay. Alrighty. So once you've fixed, if that spring was broken or there was a problem with that spring, while you got it apart, check it and make sure that there's no real bad burrs in the metal, to where the 2 pieces, they can both have burrs on them, so that the burrs are gone, and it'll be a little bit smoother to just break, because that's what it's doing, is it's just breaking really smoothly. So that's pretty much the gist